After the war, the world changed dramatically. The most powerful spy in the world had the honor of carrying out a dangerous job, but too risky. After the Third World War, the best spy school was built. Lily studied there, whom the hero chose for his business. Her code word was Flower Girl. She was full of enthusiasm and joy that she had finally been accepted for the task. When she arrived, she walked along all the corridors and looked for the right office and could not find it. It got to the point where she started to be late and needed to urgently find the right office. On the street she saw stone statues in the shape of flowers and guessed that this was a secret passage. She entered it and saw a mansion in front of her. This was the headquarters. The girl entered and saw many other girls from different schools there waiting for her. The girls did not understand why they were called here if they were the worst students in their schools. Then the owner came, covered in red paint, and said that classes would start tomorrow. But for now he told them to get comfortable and get to know each other better. The main character was very happy and didn't seem to understand where she actually ended up. The girls decided to just have dinner together and this way they got to know each other better. The next day, the owner of the house gathered all the girls and began to teach them. He gave everyone locks and they had to be opened in a matter of seconds. But it was these locks that were very difficult to open and the girls couldn't do it. Then he showed them how he does it. But he didn't show them all the stages of work. He showed it twice, but it was not clear to them, so he concluded that he was a useless teacher. So he told them to learn themselves while he learns to teach. After some time, the girl came to him and saw him drawing. Lily suggested that he go for a walk tomorrow, which he was not happy about. But she already had many options on the list and so they chose one of the places. The next day they went for a walk. While they walked they talked a lot. The girl noticed that now he explains quite well, but at the same time it is difficult to teach him. A pickpocket ran past them and stole the old woman's wallet. The guy took it with one movement of his hand and returned it to the woman. Then she found out that he completed all tasks successfully thanks to his ideal intuition. And this is not logic or tactics that can be explained, so he will not be able to teach. Next they decided to go to the lake and go boating. The guy was the first to step to the bottom of the boat, as befits a gentleman, and then extended his hand to Lily. They sailed a short distance and began to talk. Then the girl said that she had always tried very hard at school and dreamed of being a first-class spy. But Lily won't be able to work with him, he's not a good teacher. And at that moment she released a purple gas from which the guy was paralyzed and he fell. The gas was not poisonous, it just paralyzed the whole body for some time. The guy said that in this case, this gas should also paralyze her. But she replied that it had no effect on her. During the Third World War, she was the only one who survived from her village. The information that the offensive would hit her village was brought by a spy. A squad arrived and began looking for survivors there until they found Lily. So she also wanted to become a spy to save people and change the world. She began to ask him to admit defeat and he almost did it. But at one moment he shackled her legs and the boat began to fill with water. It turned out that he had planned their entire walk yesterday. He guessed that she would want to attack him because all the details converged. Lily didn't highlight this place on the whole list, but she brought it here, and the boat they were sailing in was undergoing repairs, so no one would have taken it. Lily admitted defeat and began to look for an antidote for the teacher, but she immediately noticed that she did not have an antidote, she forgot it at home. It turned out that the guy didn't have the key to the shackles either. Lily said that the poison would wear off in 10 minutes, but the boat would sink in 5 minutes. Therefore, the girl had to row with all her might. In the end, they swam and Lily began to reproach herself for losing. But the teacher told her not to do this because thanks to her, he now knows how to teach other girls. And Lily will be the leader of the entire group. The next day, he gathered all the girls and said that they were no longer his subordinates. They are now partners on the same level. Now their teaching was victory over the master, that is, over the young man. If they can defeat him and force him to admit defeat, then they are ready. Day after day they trained and tried to surpass their teacher. But no matter what good plan they came up with and no matter what they did, they still lost. The guy was leaving for a meeting with the director, who told him that all the spies had been caught. Now they and his disciples have to finish their work. When he came home and stated that they needed to talk, the young man said that he chose the 7 of them for a reason. One of the most powerful organizations was covered and the only survivor was Klaus himself. And now they have to urgently complete tasks. They developed a plan and the next day began to move out under the cover of tourists. The girls even demonstratively showed their carelessness and Klaus dressed up as an old man. They split up and began collecting information. According to the plan, they must steal a sample from the laboratory of the Ivron capital, but first they must test the waters. Lily and Sabella were collecting information from passers-by, so they quietly replaced the wallet of one of the suspicious people. When it seemed that the case was successful, the police approached them from behind and asked to search the girls. After all, they are not local and pickpockets often operate in this place. They began to search them and Lily already wanted to put the police to sleep, but then she would have started looking for them. but they didn't notice anything and released the girls. The team transmitted information to each other from different points in different ways. When Greta delivered the note to Klaus in his room, in addition to important information, she conveyed Lily's request. They wanted to throw a party and consulted Klaus. He didn't like it because they were in enemy territory and any movement they made could fail the mission. But Greta said that the whole team was tired and they should rest, just like Lily herself. Then the young man allowed them to relax, but they needed to make sure that no one was watching them. Greta asked to go with them because it would be safer and the young man agreed. In the evening they gathered in a restaurant, ate and had fun. The young man was on the roof at that time and watched them from the side. He understood that he was actually not as invulnerable as the girls thought. After all, he still could not defeat one person even once. Then he noticed something wrong in the window. When he arrived, he saw that they were all too relaxed and let down their guard. He asked if they were afraid. Sibylla said that it was very scary and they could not find a place for themselves since they were here. But they relaxed knowing that Klaus would be there because they trusted him. It's time to go on a mission. The girls decided who would go first and the first stages of the task were successful. But then someone appeared whose actions the team did not immediately notice. He acted decisively and carefully, which means he was a spy. There was an explosion from which everyone fled. Klaus' mentor appeared before them, whom he could not overcome. The girls attacked him as best they could, but he defeated them one by one. When Lily used poisonous gases against her opponent, they had no effect on him, nor did they affect her. He managed to defeat 6 girls except Lily. The antagonist turned to his former student on the radio that he had defeated his team. But he upset him and told him that he knew that he had betrayed his people and had calculated all his moves. She released poisonous gas again, but this time it was different. The man did not know about the properties of such a gas and was scared at first. When the girl attacked, the man turned out to be stronger and attacked her. Sensed victory, he said she was too slow and she lost. All 7 were defeated and the mission was a failure. But at some point a knife was stabbed into him from behind. This was the 8th girl who had been hiding all this time and the man did not notice her because he had lost his vigilance. The man fell and said nothing more. The girl simply played a distraction in the mission. Klaus even told his opponent about this and then appeared himself. The girls went back to headquarters while Klaus dealt with the mentor. The student had enough time to defeat his sworn enemy. He even decided to forgive him, but at that moment the mentor saw the sight from somewhere in the towers and protected Klaus with himself. Finally, he said to take care of his students and left for the other world. And the young man went into the office and thought about it all. But at that moment the girls attacked him and said that they did not intend to give up. But they also completed his task because they were able to defeat him, but the guy admitted defeat. The girls, as usual, had to develop a plan to become worthy rivals for the teacher. Only the 8th girl did not fit into their company. She understood this and decided to go for a walk and think it over. On the way, a gang of bandits accosted her and began to try to rob her. The girl behaved calmly and asked them to go to the same place with her to talk. She led them around the corner and at that moment a bunch of objects fell on the guys. The girl knew about this because she brings bad luck. In this way she hoped to defeat the teacher herself. The next day, she deliberately met him in the city and asked him to go shopping with her. While they walked, the girl led him to those places where she felt that she would bring him bad luck. But every time this happened, he got out of the situation. In the city they went into a cafe and just talked. The girl admitted that she brings bad luck to people and she really regretted it. She even cried in front of him and asked him to go to the same place with her. When they arrived, they were immediately surrounded and not allowed to get out of the situation. The people were tied up and taken to their lair. They were all the same bandits whom the girl had met the previous day. Klaus told them not to touch the girl, but this only angered the bandits. The guy began to distract him with questions about the personal life of the gang leader and that he had met many different girls today. He was shocked that he knew such personal information and at the right moment the team broke into the building and attacked the opponents. They managed to defeat all opponents and freed their friends. They said that it was their friend's failure that led them to their goal. And this is precisely what seemed to them like luck, which brings only benefits. The next day they tried again to defeat the teacher, but they failed. They again began to think about how they could defeat the teacher. Then Tia called Lily into her room and proposed a plan. She said that she should seduce the teacher and he likes decent ones like Lily. The girl at first refused to do this, but the brunette still forced her. The girl came up to him in a strange costume and began to offer to give him a massage while her face turned red. The guy looked at her calmly and said that if she wants something, then let her say it directly. After that, the girl ran out of his room screaming and asked him to forget all her words. The next day she felt awkward remembering all this, so they began to develop a new plan to defeat the teacher. They tried all options and tried to defeat him one-on-one, who could do what. But this did not give any result. One day, Greta decided to treat him to dinner, which she prepared herself, but the guy did not take her food. Then they noticed that he never dined with them, but only ate in his room. The girls were interested in this fact and they decided to follow him and find out why. In the morning, Klaus went on a mission to the city, so they had a great opportunity to follow and not get caught. They ambushed him and watched his every reaction. Thus, they learned that the teacher was allergic to many foods. So, when they returned home, they started preparing him a special dish that would help them advance their business. When he came and tried their food, the girls were very surprised because it had everything that the guy was allergic to and he should have been sick. But this did not happen and the girls were defeated again. The guy acted everywhere as if everything was going well and as it should be. Therefore, he simply wished Lily to be as energetic as always and to prepare well for her and her team since the mission was very soon. Lily learned that Sybil grew up in an orphanage. The girl reacted positively to this and said that she promised her family from there that she would become rich and they would all live happily together. That's why she became a spy. Lily thought it was cute because Sybil is a rude and impudent girl and Lily did not expect this from her. They agreed that they would complete the mission together and receive a large profit for it. But first they had to defeat the teacher. Annette learned about the teacher's affairs and where he was going today. So they decided to take away the things he was carrying and force him to admit defeat. Sybil volunteered to follow him and steal the valuable item herself. She thought it was simple. While she was looking, she could not come closer to him because then he would notice the girl. At some point he came to the park and sat on a bench. A girl approached him and offered him orange juice, but she accidentally stained the cup with juice, and when she reached to remove the cup, she began to try to pull the folder off the bench. But at that moment Sybil ran up and stopped the girl from stealing the item. The girl burst into tears and began to apologize profusely. When Sybil raised her hand and tried to calm the girl, she was even more horrified. Then Klaus approached her and asked if she liked cats, and embroidered a cat's face on her clothes. The girl quickly calmed down and gave the juice to Sybil as a reward. The girl had bruises and abrasions on her arms, and it became clear who her parents were. The girl drank and, together with Klaus, decided to take the girl home. Sybil said they looked like a couple and that was strange. But Klaus noticed that this was even good and asked the girl to call him her favorite. When they entered the alley, Sybil immediately felt a sharp pain in her stomach, and the girl stole her bag and ran away. Klaus walked over and gave the girl the antidote. His mission was to apprehend the man who was forcing orphans to steal and work for him. He attached a beacon to the girl's clothes and now they can follow her. The man told the girl that she had stolen too little and now she would be punished. The man swung at her and intended to beat her, and at that moment Klaus and Sybil approached them. The girl spoke first and did not allow anyone to do this to the children. He was aggressive, and that's why they even fought. But Sybil was able to attack him and he could no longer resist. They said that the police were already waiting for him, but the man said that he had connections in the police. Klaus pulled out a document that stated that the very friend who was covering for this man was imprisoned for attempted espionage. Therefore, friends and connections will definitely not help him. The villain got angry and attacked Klaus, but he quickly defended himself and handcuffed him. Now all they have to do is leave the area before the police arrive. The girl thanked them for their help and now they can say goodbye. Then Sybil said that she lived in the same family and always protected her loved ones from her father. And then she was taken to an orphanage, but she promised to make her family happy. Klaus then said that she had a sensitive heart, so she would cope with her task and be able to help the family. Sarah ended up in spy class for the most banal reason. Her parents could no longer run the restaurant and she had to earn money herself. The girls discussed how to attack the teacher again, but the latter method entailed certain consequences in the form of destroyed and out-of-order furniture. Like their other methods of catching the teacher by surprise, but no one knew who was fixing all this furniture. Erna believed that it was a ghost because she saw it at night. She told all this to Sarah, who was caring for the animals at that time. She didn't believe it all, but one night she was walking down the corridor and heard sounds. She made her way into the kitchen where they came from and was noticed by the teacher. He was washing the dishes at that time and this surprised the girl a little. He said it was his way of disguising himself by pretending to be a chief or butler. He knew that it was she who repaired everything that was broken in the house in secret from the girls. He appreciated her work, but he didn't like that it kept her from getting much sleep. Therefore, he told her to go get some sleep and in the morning distribute the responsibilities around the house among themselves. The next morning, the girls smelled a pleasant smell and, when they came to the kitchen, saw a lot of delicious food in front of them. Klaus decided to make them breakfast for their good work. The girls were delighted with the teacher's food, and when he showed the meat, they decided that it was for them too. But the teacher said that this dish was not his. But if they want, they can complete the task faster than him and then get the meat. Their task was to fix all the doors and windows and do the cleaning faster than the teacher. After the start of the tournament, the teacher won all the competitions and did everything faster than them. They no longer counted on victory or receiving meat. The last task was cleaning the windows. Sarah started talking about how this could be done much faster. When everyone ran towards the target, Sarah ran in the opposite direction from them. The girls did not pay attention to her and continued to compete. but then they ran out of water to wash windows and it took quite a long time to collect it. Sarah called out to the girls and her eagles began to deliver water to them. This was her plan. Then she called the dog and also began to help them complete the task. And yet they managed to get ahead of the teacher and they received a piece of meat, which had to be divided among everyone. But then the teacher gave Sarah more meat because he thought she deserved it. The teacher works a lot, so he has been too tired lately. So Lily took him to the kitchen where the girls prepared dinner for him. But she lied and girls attacked him from all sides. The guy suspected that this would happen and was able to attack them again. Although he was incredibly tired, which caused him to confuse basic things, he had to take up the matter of the incident that happened in the city. Only he himself could cope with this. In the evening, Greta noticed that he was tired and therefore made him tea and took care of him. The guy didn't understand why she was so attached to him, but he was flattered by her care. She then asked him for a hug, but he refused. He believed that she was simply trying to seduce him in order to attack him. The next day he went on another mission and took Lily with him. He told her to take a walk while he investigated the case and tested the waters. Under the guise of a worker, he arrived at the house where the crime took place. There he attacked the man and began interrogating him. When he left the building, he immediately heard a shot. Someone shot out a tire, apparently it was a spy. He ran to look for Lily and found her somewhere around the corner of the houses. She was wounded. She told him not to worry and to run to look for the criminal and even told him which way to run. He ran with confidence and even climbed to the roof, but could not catch anyone. He returned to Lily and together they went to complete the mission. Lily came up from behind him and stuck a needle into him. He didn't understand what happened and the girl said that he himself asked to stick a needle into him because he was wounded. Klaus didn't understand what happened and just fell to his knees. Then he realized that someone had dressed up as Klaus and told Lily to stick a needle into him since he was wounded. And Lily with the wound on her hand was not real. And at that moment another Lily came. Then she took off her mask and it turned out to be Greta and the rest of the girls. Klaus couldn't believe they managed to pull it off. The girls said that he worked too much and was overtired, so he began to think poorly. They asked him to admit defeat and he almost did, but then attacked Greta. He didn't admit that he lost, but he did admit that her plan was great. At home, she made him tea again and again offered him a hug, but he simply asked her if she had fallen in love with him. The girl dropped the tray in surprise and said that he had guessed right. He wanted to give her an answer, but Greta interrupted him and said that she was not ready to answer yet. Klaus heard her and did not bring up the topic. The girl took out a report that the mission was completed. She filled out the papers for him. He was very grateful to her for this. Then she told him all the details of how she was able to come up with such a brilliant plan and it only took her 2 seconds to do it all. Klaus was amazed by her genius and recognized it. The task was not completed and therefore Klaus decided to take several girls on the task since he could not cope alone. He must choose the strongest of them, but they still have to fight for this. Lily and Sibylla discussed who the teacher would take with him and came to the conclusion that Monica was very suitable. They came to the kitchen and saw Sarah there, who was on duty in the kitchen, although today it was their turn. The girls decided that this was a good chance to poison him and his expectations would happen. They thought for a long time and eventually decided to cook cabbage rolls for him according to the teacher's own recipe. They tried very hard and prepared them for him. The guy liked them but said they needed some seasoning, and he made them eat these cabbage rolls. Although they turned out to be very tasty, both girls were poisoned and had a stomachache. Nevertheless, they took them on a mission and there they recalled these incidents. The girls' task was to play the role of maids in a mansion in the mountains. They got a job there and other girls watched them at that time. They endeared themselves to the housekeeper and did an excellent job. The head maid said that such quality of work would surpass even the owner himself and he had just arrived home. When he saw them, he immediately said from the threshold that his friend had passed away due to the fault of spies. Therefore, he pointed the gun at the girls and began to threaten them. But then he said that he was joking, but he would still take a closer look at them. He ordered Sibylla to prepare dinner to test them and she obeyed. The old man grumbled at them all the time and shouted about every little thing. One day Sibylla could not stand it and began rummaging through his office in search of incriminating evidence on him. She began to leaf through the photo album and saw there what Greta had told her. She said this man was exposing rich, powerful scoundrels and making the world a better place. At that moment, the owner entered and he was not happy that someone in bad demand entered his office. He did not put pressure on the girl and simply told him a story about a girl who was not afraid to betray one of her father's gangs, which was destroying her life and the lives of her brother and sister. It was a very brave act, and he will notice that Sibylla is very similar to that girl and she is now about the same age. And then he just fired her. But she and the girls came up with a plan to make him not fire her and the others. They prepared cabbage rolls for him, but not before reviewing his medical record. When he tried them, he said that the dishes were terrible, but the girl said that it was like that because she made everything according to the recipe for a dish that he could eat. After all, he has a disease in which he does not feel taste, and therefore he adds a lot of spices to it every time. Sibylla said she could help him heal and feed him healthy food. But the man began to quarrel with her because others had even worse problems and the girl still had to quit. But in addition to this, he was also blind, so she hired herself as the best man since he and a man could not drive. When she helped him out of the car, someone almost shot him. An operation to rescue the man immediately began. Greta and Klaus discussed a plan to catch a criminal while playing chess. But Greta lost, although she played quite well. In the end they agreed to go to bed and Greta again forced him to rest more. He fell asleep quickly, so he fell asleep immediately, and Greta sat next to him and held his hand. The next day she gave everyone assignments and told them about all the positions. The other day there was a banquet planned and they had to be especially attentive there. Olivia carefully watched everything happening around her. At the end of the event, the girls spoke in sign language that there was nothing terrible today and no one was strangers. Suddenly Olivia called Greta over and asked about her strange behavior, but she simply told her that she had fallen in love with someone and that is why she was behaving so strangely. Olivia saw him with Klaus and therefore assumed that it was him. Greta said that she doesn't like people who don't make an effort to love, but Olivia said that's why no one loves Greta. Here Olivia hit the nail on the head. She then told Greta to leave, but before she left, Greta noticed a brooch with a stone on the dresser. It was from her past. She asked Olivia where she got it from and she replied that his current boyfriend gave it to her. In the room, Greta remembered all Olivia's words and thought a lot about them. She also remembered the words of her father, who said terrible things about her. Klaus at this time looked at her documents and learned from there that her father forcibly sent his daughter to the academy in order to get rid of her. And then he went to catch a criminal who should have been behind bars a long time ago. One evening shots were heard from the house. It was the owner and he was trying to fight off the criminal. But Sibylla rushed in and pushed him away from the window. The man said that there was a video of the criminal and saw his face, which had a huge stain on it. But nevertheless, the owner was grateful for his salvation. Then Olivia came to them and interrupted the conversation. She further said that these maids were very suspicious because they were not even afraid of what happened, as if they were used to it. And at that moment Greta came in and said that it was dangerous to hold glass in your hand. She let him go to the floor and said that she even cut herself and went to wash her hand. She and Sibylla began to suspect Olivia. When Greta returned to the room, her head began to spin for a moment. She thought about all the problems and felt stressed. But Lily met her and took her into the room to give Greta a massage and talk. She locked the room and immediately all the girls jumped out and fell for Greta. Then they began to interrogate her and tickle her so that she would tell them about everything. After all, she was the very person with the spot on her face. The girl sat down on the bed and began to talk about how the criminal was very close and that he was in this house, but at that moment Olivia came in and threw a bomb at them. The girls ran to the window and covered themselves with a mattress. The explosion sent them flying out the window. She then repeated the procedure, but Bernard was saved by the falcon, but ended up sacrificing himself. The girls had already decided that it was time to call Klaus, but Greta said that this time they should rely only on themselves and Klaus would not help them. The girls ran up to Bernard, and he was alive, only wounded. There, the girls learned that Greta even dressed up as Klaus to give the girls more hope and a sense of security. And Klaus himself went to defeat that same criminal. The teacher chose the strongest and took them with him on the mission. And their task was to catch his accomplice. Olivia stood and remembered her first meeting with her husband. He defeated all the people she worked for and ordered her to jump down so he could put all the blame on the girl and leave himself. But he took pity on her and took her away. There he taught her how to handle weapons and work just like him. They became a wonderful couple and partners, and now he gave her the task of defeating enemies on the territory of the mansion. Lily and Sibylla were the first to fight, but Olivia defeated them both and threw them into the abyss. There Lily treated Sibylla and herself. All hope remained only for Greta. She and Olivia met on the roof where they had to fight. Olivia was more experienced with weapons, so she easily defeated Greta, and she began to ask if Klaus loved her and if there was love between them. She started saying that it was all a lie and comparing Klaus to her husband. The girl decided to copy her husband's style and throw Greta off the roof in order to shift the responsibility onto her. The spy started talking to Olivia to buy time. Then she chose her moment and ducked, and the shot hit Olivia. Greta now had power over Olivia. In fact, Greta had a mark on her face and she knew that the owner had seen the criminal with a mark on his face. He thought it was him and decided to shoot him, but he hit Olivia. This was Greta's plan. At that moment, Klaus returned and brought with him the chest containing the criminal. He praised Greta and said that he saw the real her and liked it. Olivia became weak at that moment because there was no longer any protection. Here they were hit along with the criminal and the mission was completed. The next day the girls and Klaus went home. But Klaus and Greta were driving a car and stopped at a cliff. Klaus decided to confess his feelings to her and said that he had never experienced romantic feelings and did not have them for Greta. but he can make her the closest family member and give her the love she needs. The girl simply took off her mask and showed her real face. Klaus looked at her, and from his lips came the confession that she was beautiful. The girl cried and hugged him. Now they can be together. The teacher spent the whole day with Greta, and finally they decided to go to the bakery to buy a pie and treat everyone, but it was closed. The next day, Klaus left for another mission and told them to rest and not interfere in anything. The girls were glad that now they had a vacation and they could spend 10 days as they wanted. That evening they decided to have a party and went into town to buy that same pie, hoping that the bakery was open. But it was closed again, and then the baker was asked the reason. He told them that he was threatened by an influential organization. They wanted to buy a bakery and pie recipes, but the old man refused, and after that everything began. Greta knew that this was Klaus's favorite bakery, and they decided to help the baker with his problems. The girls found out information from various people in this organization and learned that the gang leader had lowered the salaries of the employees, and everyone was afraid of him because he carried a weapon. They decided that Lily would pretend to be the baker's granddaughter and allegedly sell the recipe for the pie, since she recently moved to the city and she has nothing to pay for the rent of the apartment. Naturally, the manager of this gang came to the address and asked to sell him the recipe. But Lily said he's not the only one who wants to buy it. And right after that, Tia and Greta came to them, dressed as the best chef in the world. They pretended that they bought this recipe for a very large amount of money, much more than the gang. And they guaranteed protection. And even when the manager tried to attack Lily, the couple said that they would deal with them if they threatened Lily and her grandfather. The operation was successful. In the evening they ate pie and celebrated the occasion. Greta wanted to please Klaus because she loved him very much and wanted to preserve what he liked so much. But he told them not to interfere in any matter. In the evening the manager called them. The girls were waiting for his call, but not for what he would tell them. He asked to bake the pie right in front of him to ensure the authenticity of the recipe, and even began to offer more money. The girls had to take this step, but they did not know the recipe at all. But they remembered that Klaus once tried to bake it. So they called Klaus and he told them this, although quickly and not entirely clearly, and wished them good luck in hunting the attacker. Apparently he already knew everything. They succeeded in baking the pie, but the man was given a completely different recipe than the one in the pie and got rid of the baker. When Klaus arrived and saw the result of his work, he was incredibly pleased. After all, she preserved what he loved so much and made him happy. Arriving home, the girls became worried. After all, the others should have returned a long time ago, but they are not. Klaus was also surprised, because he himself did not expect this. And then Monica began to suspect Tia and directly asked her a question about whether she was going to betray their team. When everyone was already at home and there were no tasks, Lily asked why her room was blown up. And so, Klaus said that he sent the girls to the mansion under the pretext that they were the strongest and were ready for the task. But in reality they were only dealing with the assistant of the main criminal. Then, nevertheless, he could not risk it and gave the remaining girls the task of touching his hand. And they needed to work together, something that these girls specifically did not know how to do. He appointed Tia as the main one, who was supposed to unite them. The girl tried to negotiate with everyone, but no one wanted to make contact with her. One day she walked into Lily's room and saw a note on her bed that described many unrelated things. She ignored this and used a different method. Tia was simply imbued with their feelings and endeared herself to her, which is how she managed to make friends with Annette and Erna. They developed a plan to get the teacher to touch his hand and came to him. But before entering, Tia noticed that Monica was touching his hand without any problem. She came to find out what was going on and the guy said that she had completed the mission. Monica learned that Klaus often works with animals and washes his hands immediately afterward. But Monica turned off the taps and agreed to open them after he allowed her to touch his hand. Klaus was in a hurry and had no choice but to agree. He told them this story and said that he would have to go on a mission again. Although he did not want to risk the lives of the girls, they still volunteered to help as best they could. They had to save their team. And the girls at that time were far from home and relaxing near the pool, although in fact they were on business. A woman approached them and said that Annette was her daughter. This shocked the girls, and then he showed her business card, which said that her name was Matilda Barbet and she was a famous technician. But 4 years ago the train went into a spin and she was taken to the hospital. But they did not say that her daughter survived. Annette came up and asked who this woman was. Annette didn't remember her at all. Then the girls told her to go play with Erna and told the woman that she only remembers the last 4 years of her life. The state gave her the name Annette and sent her to an orphanage. The girls could not give Annette away without proof. Matilda is really the girl's mother. Then the woman approached Tia and asked to have lunch with her daughter tomorrow, but they did not give an exact answer. In the evening, Tia told Monica that she sees emptiness in Annette's eyes. She has no reason to become a spy, and this way she can be with her mother. Monica and Tia talked among themselves and decided that they would let them have lunch. But Monica had doubts about this woman and said that she would be present at the dinner so that Tia would not do anything. Before going to dinner, the girls had a hard time getting Annette to change her clothes and behave decently. Then they finally met and everything went well for the time being. Then Erna felt something was wrong and said that trouble was about to happen. The girls noticed that they were being watched and realized that they needed to leave. They passed radios to each other under the table and Tipa took Matilda out the back door. In order to pass unnoticed, she had to distract the guards. At this time, Erna soiled her clothes and, under this pretext, Monica began to take her to the ladies' room. When the girls went outside, Monica said into the radio that these people were coming towards them, so the girls needed to leave urgently. They hurried and a chase immediately began after them. At that moment, the ringing of a bell was heard. Ernest stood on top and waited for bad luck to fall on the villains. And so it happened, they were covered with stones. When they were in a safe place, they asked Matilda why she was being pursued. And she said that these were collectors. 2 days ago, her suitcase with things she needed was stolen and taken to a pawn shop. She tried to get money by gambling, but lost everything, including her passport. The girls decided to help the woman and came up with a plan. They made exactly the same box as Matilda's and replaced it with the one in the store, having agreed with the seller. Then, when this fake box fell into the hands of the scammers who deceived Matilda, Monica rushed in to deal with them. These people deceived tourists, threatened them and lured them into their casino, where they drove them into debt. She saw a box with many passports and saw Matilda's passport there. People tried to attack the girl, but she defended herself and called the other girls. And it turned on the mechanism and that fake box will release poisonous gas. The spies were able to find her box and return it to the woman. Annette really wanted to see what was inside, and she and Matilda opened it and had a long heart-to-heart talk. The girls already believed that Annette was really Matilda's daughter. Even though Erna didn't like Annette because she teases Erna, the girl will miss Annette. Then Tia promised to do her best to persuade Annette not to leave. But still, the final choice will be Annette's. When Matilda left, it was already evening. The girls returned to the mansion and there Monica said that it seemed strange to her that there were a lot of military men everywhere and Matilda did not go to the police when an important thing went missing. And then Monica found Matilda's passport when they caught the gang and spent the day investigating. Only Matilda's passport contained completely different data. She turned out to be an Imperial spy and now they should report everything to Klaus. A new task has begun that they will have to complete. But Tia stopped her and said that she wanted to save Matilda's fate. After all, she is Annette's mother. The girls started arguing among themselves. Tia simply followed her heart and Monica did what she had to do. In the end, Annette said that she herself wanted to see Matilda again and Monica gave them a chance. When they met, Tia directly told Matilda that they knew that she was also a spy, but she couldn't allow anyone to find out her real name from her passport, but her real name is Matilda. Next they went to the bakery and Tia was waiting for them outside. She remembered those moments when she herself was saved by a spy from the bandits who kidnapped her. The girl could not speak, but the woman understood her by her gaze. They could talk for hours without saying a word. This is how little Tia developed the ability to penetrate people's desires. Tia asked the girl if she really wanted to help Matilda and she answered positively. Then Tia promised to fly everything possible. But she understood that Monica would not allow her to do this. So the girl called her to talk around the corner. Tia told her that she intended to help Matilda and Annette. Therefore, he asks Monica not to interfere, no one will get hurt in this. But Monica did not make concessions and Tia had to challenge Monica to a duel. But she even felt funny, because she was stronger than Tia and they both knew it. And in this case, the girl threatened the guards who were nearby and Monica had to agree to a duel. They began to fight and Tia used Annette's technologies, but they did not help. Monica saw all the traps in the mirror that was on one of the houses. She threw one punch and grabbed Tia by the throat to stop her. The only thing in the spy's thoughts was that all this was useless. The girl remembered that her gift needed to be developed and then she would be stronger than the most powerful enemy. You just need to increase the distance. She moved Monica away a little and spoke to her. At a moment when there was a little less than a meter between them, Tia looked into Monica's eyes and then chose the moment and kissed her. Monica was shocked and she became even more angry. Then Tip said that she knew that she had fallen in love. Also one of the members of their group. When Tia revealed Monica's secret, Monica was instantly defeated. They agreed that she would still turn a blind eye to the events, but she will have conditions that at the slightest mistake Monica will betray Matilda. The second condition was not to tell anyone that she was in love and that they kissed. The next day, they and Matilda met on the seashore and said that they wanted to help her. They even talked about the fact that they are also spies and are essentially enemies of each other. Matilda agreed with them and was not perturbed. But her terrible smile, which the girls did not notice, said everything for the girl. Klaus and Lily arrived at the crime scene. The police were not happy that they came here. He quickly realized that this was the work of a spy, and when he was already leaving, the military man asked him if Klaus had guessed something that he was not telling. But he didn't answer anything. On the way, he told Lily that Annette's mother is a spy and she has no good intentions. At this time, a man with a strange hairstyle was walking through the streets. He came to Matilda and she told him that she was actually manipulating the girls. As soon as she showed a drop of love and pity, Annette's kindness turned into a tool for Matilda. In fact, even as a child, Matilda hated her Annette. She found the girl at the station and took her to her place. One day she hit her so hard that the girl's memory of her was erased. And then Matilda simply threw away her daughter like someone once did. The guy said she was crazy and she left a big smell in the form of an unpleasant odor after committing a terrible crime. But the woman said she was simply taking revenge for the theft. The girls told Matilda about their plans, that they would help the woman hide on the ship among the cargo and she would leave safely. The only problem was the military and the reliability of the hiding place. Monica came and said that she had found a place for Matilda. But before that, Annette blew up part of the port and all the military ran there. The girls began to move closer to the place while the path was clear. But suddenly Etna pushed Tia away to avoid being shot. It was the work of a sniper. He recognized those girls and intended to finish off at least one. But he didn't have time to do this because Klaus crept up on him from behind. He guessed his intentions and that on the very first mission it was he who shot his mentor. The sniper did not want to deal with Klaus and simply began to run away from him. The girls realized that they were now in danger and so Monica ran in front to distract them. It was risky and extremely dangerous, but she made it through and wasn't even hurt. And at that time the rest of the girls ran forward and hid behind the load. While Annette and Erna were looking for the container, Tia asked Matilda if she really wanted to send a soldier to another world. She saw in Matilda's eyes the desire to commit this crime. The woman began to laugh ominously and practically confessed her intentions. But she added that it was too late to change anything and Tia understood this. She didn't want to ruin poor Annette's dreams. Mother and daughter began to say goodbye and the woman invited Annette to take the toolbox for herself. Annette agreed, but in exchange she gave her exactly the same one so that Annette would have something from her mother and Matilda would have something from her daughter. She blocked the door and the girls left the place. Annette was watching the port from the side and a teacher approached her from behind. The girl told Klaus that she now understands what it's like to have a mother. She can praise and scold, but she will always support. Klaus at first thought that she was talking about Matilda, but Annette said that she meant Tia. Annette has always treated her like a mother and she truly loves her. But Matilda is not her mother at all and Annette simply lured her into a trap. There was a different number on the container, but Annette wrote false numbers. In fact, this container will be taken to another continent and she simply lured Matilda there. The woman wanted to give Annette a box of explosives, but Annette switched it and the woman fell into her own trap. Annette did this in secret from the girls. She knew in advance about the woman's intentions. Thus, the girls completed their mission and did not let themselves be deceived. Everyone returned home and friends were reunited. They told each other about their merits and when they asked Monica about them, she said something under her breath and left. Tia said that she did her best and she was just very tired. Later it became known about a new future mission, which the teacher wanted to entrust to Monica for the most part. But you still need to cover it, since the mission is quite difficult. Greta asked Monica a question about why they wanted to expel her from the academy. She replied that she simply became uninterested and stopped studying well. She surpassed everyone and the others simply ceased to be her rivals. Back at the academy, she noticed how a crowd of boys took away one because his father was an electrician. But the girl was sitting on a tree at that moment and drove away all the hooligans. The boy asked to teach him all the techniques so that he could fight back against the offenders and the girl agreed. During the day, she met a suspicious man under disguise and decided that he was following her. When he attacked her, she attacked back and won. She didn't know who he was and decided that he was following the boy, but she didn't attach any importance to it. During their meeting, the boy said that he would like to be in the military to protect the world. He was taught that military personnel are always kind and do everything to make the world a better place. When he asked Monica what she dreams about, the girl replied that she has no dreams. The girl said that he would hardly have wanted to become an ordinary military man if he had been offered to become an actor who earned a lot of money. There the girl said that she was from a creative family where everyone knew art. Monica played all the musical instruments and drew perfectly, but her drawings had no soul. But she wanted to become a spy and did a lot for this. The girl was always the best and the strongest among her peers. One day she saw that the entire hall was filled with people lying down. The teacher defeated all her best students in training and it became clear that their efforts did not yield results. And Monica realized that she had no talent in anything. While they were talking, he fell asleep as the girl gave him sleeping pills for a short time. She wanted to search the apartment for reasons why that person was following him. She found a cache of documents and looked through it. But at that moment the father came home. He covered the boy and went to his room. There Monica caught up with him and learned that he was disappointed in the correctness of the Empire's actions. After all, they performed terrible experiments on prisoners who were sentenced to death. He collected materials to bring them to justice. Monica said that there was too much material and he could easily be suspected. At that moment, his son screamed. Some people came and accused the man of being a spy, but he began to deny everything. People connected them both and Monica heard everything. But she must leave and not interfere like a real spy because she has done her job. But she could not do this and stood up for both of them. She was immediately caught, but Monica used ordinary mathematics and got out of the situation. Her ability to balance and be on the verge of death helped her win and save the boy and his father. She put both of them on the train and gave them the address and password of a place where they could go and they would get help. Greta asked why she stayed with them on the team then, and Monica replied that they have friendly faces and are a pleasure to deal with. Monica doubted Tia's ability, that she really is good at relationships and knows how to seduce well. One day Sibylla and Sarah came to her with a request. Sarah was written to by a secret admirer named Dominique Mora and confessed his love for her. She refused him, but he did not let up and wrote her many letters. This was a great chance for Tia to show off her ability to seduce guys. Then the girls decided to check who he really was. They helped arrange a date for Sarah with this man and helped her get ready. On the spot, they watched what was happening through binoculars. When the guy came to Sarah, he immediately gave her lilies of the valley and the girls noticed that he was very handsome. Then they just talked in a cafe and about animals and other things. Sarah had a walkie-talkie with her and the girls listened to everything they were saying. When the date ended, the guy walked further away from the cafe. On the way, Tia met him and pretended that she knew the guy, and when she looked into his eyes, she saw in them everything she needed. Then she said that she just made a mistake and they went their separate ways. Already at home, Tia invited Sarah to go for a walk and she said that it is very nice when someone falls in love with you. But Monica and Lily arrived there, who said that Dominic was not who he said he was and everything he told Sarah about himself was false. They found out everything about his identity. His name is Tarek Pupke and he is a fraudster. The guy makes the girl fall in love with him and then comes up with some situation and asks to lend him money urgently, after which he abandons the naive victim. Greta and Sibylla were currently following him in a bar with friends. Monica showed the walkie-talkie where their conversation could be heard. He told his friends about how he was deceiving Sarah and what he intended to do next. They laughed loudly and discussed all the details. This made Sarah cry and said that no one could ever love her and then ran away. But the girls still decided to take revenge on him for all the girls whose hearts he broke and deceived. Tia organized a date for them and the girls carefully prepared for this meeting. Tia was supposed to come to the hookup, but Sarah came instead to take the guy by surprise. And it worked. She looked great and they walked into the restaurant together. There they had dinner, talked, and drank. Lily poured some liquid into his glass, which awakened his feelings for Sarah and he relaxed. So he invited her to go to his house and have a little drink there. But she refused and asked him about her fraud. O got scared and began to deny everything. But under the influence of the liquid he told her everything. After she told him, she showed him the recorder and said that she would show it to the police. When she stood up, he swung his hand at her, but Klaus stopped him and didn't even let him touch Sarah. She pretended that Klaus was her boyfriend and said that he was much better than Tarek. After they left the restaurant, Klaus suggested that the young lady play the role of lovers a little more and go for a walk, so that she would look at such things from the other side and that dates can be beautiful and enjoyable. Sarah agreed and they went for a walk. After a while, it became known that Tarek Pupke was sent to prison for fraud. The mission was a success and Tia was the most pleased with herself. Klaus had some small tasks to complete. It was a burden for him to do everything alone, so he decided to give the job to Annette, who just wanted to have more money. Her mission was to find the weed dealer who had smuggled her into the cafe. Annette got a job as a waitress and surprisingly worked very well there. One day she was doused with whiskey by some gentleman with glasses and the girl behaved very professionally. It seems Lily and Sibylla got a job there to keep an eye on Annette. It looks like they found grass in a toilet bowl in the toilet and realized that they need to keep an eye on who goes to the toilet very often. They found two suspicious men who often went there, but these were not the ones they needed, so it could have been one of the staff. They searched each waiter's and cook's locker and found the item in the waiter's locker. At this moment, he immediately entered the room and held a kitchen knife in his hand. He understood everything and said that his mother needed money for treatment, and now he will have to solve the problem of them seeing his goods. Lily understood his intention and took out the serum. He swung at Lily, but at that moment boxes of vegetables fell on him because of Erna. At home, the girls discussed this situation and realized that the supplier of the goods was the same man with glasses who poured whiskey on Annette. They felt sorry for the guy who was punished for trading. After all, the man with the glasses was just using him. Then Annette found this man in the gateway and set traps to catch him. When he was in a vulnerable position and he could not even see Annette, she came up from behind and intended to shock him. But Klaus stopped her and said that it would be too much and the criminal was caught anyway. The mission was accomplished. A new criminal appeared in the city, who spoke with a previously escaped spy codenamed White Spider. He told the criminal about the girls and Klaus, and he already knew about them and their strength and cohesion. Klaus told the girls about the new mission and new crimes. Then they, along with Tia, went to interrogate their former strong opponent, whom they managed to put in prison. He immediately tried to attack the lefty, but Klaus pressed him to the wall and prevented him from doing so. The criminal said that Tia was shaking with fear during the battle just as she was now. He began to interrogate the criminal and he said that a criminal codenamed Purple Ant was involved in crimes. When the teacher and the girl found out everything they needed, they immediately left. Tia said that the criminal told the truth about her and she accepts it. The woman who was driving the car said that the car did not obey her at all. The guy got behind the wheel and immediately realized that it was Anit's doing and she immediately appeared. The road led them into a trap where the girls tried a cross-dressing trick and Klaus lost to them. He got confused and the girls were able to catch him in a vulnerable position. He admitted defeat and said that he would do the exam for them. In New York on a mission, they took their positions where they collected information. Greta and Tia visited all the girls in different parts of the city to get at least some information. Sibylla pretended to be a journalist and tried to get interviews from celebrities, but she only managed to steal his document. Lily worked in a restaurant and was able to get some information, which she unobtrusively told the girls. After the end of the day, they collected information and decided to take stock. Klaus received information that spies from other countries were being eliminated. This means that they need to be more united and not split up in case of an attack. Tia saw that other girls were confident in their abilities, but not her. She was confused that the girls did not tell her when they intended to attack Klaus, and she felt unwanted. In the morning, when they were all getting ready to have breakfast, a voice came from the closet. There was that criminal tied up in the closet. In fact, Klaus took him with him since he was the only one who knew the Purple Ant that well. Everyone still remained in their positions and fulfilled their obligations. Monica ended up in a closed club of rich people where she had to play darts. But she was not told many things. For example, if she wins too often and earns money, and if she loses at an unexpected moment, then she is forced to pay the entire amount. But she needed to find out information, so she went through with it. Sibylla had dinner with a gentleman to whom she returned a stolen suitcase. They drank and talked about peace. Some people were waiting for Lily at the back door to talk, and when the girl came to them, she decided that it was a disguise and they intended to attack her. But in fact it was the police and they suspected her of a brutal crime and even handcuffed her. They tried to get her into the car, but there was some kind of toy on her back that released poisonous gas. Annette immediately ran up and grabbed her hand and they ran away from there together. Monica played the game well, but the woman played the game no worse. But Monica noticed the scam behind her, so she got out as best she could. She noticed that the air conditioner blew every time she threw a dart. Sarah stood in the crowd and, with the help of animals, helped Monica win. Sibylla went downstairs to the car and suddenly felt sick. One of the rich man's subordinates approached her and said that he would bring her water. But while he was leaving, the girl stole his sleeping pills and his plans were ruined. A battle began between them and Sibylla won it. Monica threw darts and took into account all the details and the direction of the wind from the air conditioner. In the end, she managed to win, scoring 1 point more than this woman. As a win, Monica demanded information about who she was working for, but the girl stuck a dart into her neck and fell unconscious. Monica stopped the woman, but she said to carry out the order in this way, and she said something about the heroine, that they had to save her. Monica told the woman to call an ambulance and she and Sarah left the building to carry out the task further. Sibylla and Erna were fleeing from that man. It seemed to him that he had thought through all the moves and they would not be able to escape. But the girls were more cunning and managed to achieve more than he did in this battle of spies. The guy kept talking about his family and that he wanted to save them. In reality, the Purple Ant tortured its victims and used psychological pressure to force them to do its bidding. When Sibylla still managed to attack him and wound him, the guy fell and did not even try to heal himself. He also talked about the heroine who had to save him. Sibylla healed his leg and together with Erna they went to look for a way out. All this was not part of the girls' plans and they had to improvise. There were too many enemies. Greta and Tia sat at headquarters and analyzed the situation. They received sauce signals and even Annette called them and said that they were fine, but everything was not as they imagined. Greta decided to dress up as their teacher in order to help the team in some way. Even in such a situation she was determined. Tia was left alone and she was completely unprepared. She started talking about how worthless she was and how she couldn't do anything. Annette was still on the other line and heard Tia's words. She began to calm her down and this cheered Tia up. She decided to act more decisively. She has a goal to protect the girls from her team. She went into the criminal's room to look into his eyes and find out more information. But he told her the story of how he met the Purple Ant and tricked her into releasing him. The girl wanted to do everything possible for her team, even taking risks. She believed him and untied him. But the criminal attacked the girl and called her very naive. He dragged her to their main enemy and now she has become their hostage. There, the criminals decided to tell her everything and use it for their own purposes. Like I was sitting at the bar and saw red marks on the table. She said that he was indeed very strong and that attacking him was a stupid idea. And she asked about what happened 6 months ago with a spy codenamed Hearth. The purple ant told the girl that he had brought her to the same place where they were now. The woman already knew her end, so she behaved confidently and did not lose anything. She told everyone that a strong heroine with dark hair would come. The woman was referring to Tia and said she hadn't seen her in about 7 years but believed she had grown into a good person. She kept talking about how Tip and Klaus would defeat the purple ant, and the criminal was tired of it. He didn't believe a single word she said. Finally, the girl stood up and ordered Klaus to go out and help her deal with the criminal, pointing with her hand to the exit where he was supposed to come out. The guy ordered attention there, which means he was afraid that this would happen. After that he finished with her and she never breathed again. Tia stood up and said that she was the heroine and must defeat crime. The man did not believe her and did not take her words very seriously. He ordered the man to attack the girl, but she told him the wasps would appear and he did so. Tia spoke in the voice of the spy herself named Hearth. The guy had met her before and saw her in the last minutes of her life. Tia charmed him with her voice and ability to seduce anyone. Then she repeated the same gesture as the spy Hearth had once done, but the criminal did not flinch. This time Klaus really came out of the darkness and decided to want Tia. The criminal was surprised by this and after a little dialogue he ordered the guy with an axe to deal with these two. But nothing came of it. The criminal had no choice but to run away from these two, and on the way they were attacked by other subordinates. They were surrounded in the square and the hope of victory was already fading. There were a lot of them like artichokes. Then Roland's voice was heard somewhere above. Now he was on the side of the spies since Tia was able to lure him away. When the girl freed him, he first began to attack her. But Usha quickly found arguments against him and looked confidently into his eyes. She told everything about his soul and put moral pressure on him, so she made him her partner. Then the other team members appeared from somewhere and were all ready to fight. The battle began and did not last long. The opposing team underestimated the capabilities of Klaus and the girls, since the white spider then found Klaus in not the best shape and state of health. But now he is much stronger than the man thinks, and Klaus pushed the criminal into the wall with all his might. His team was amazed and the mission was successfully completed. At home, Tia asked the teacher to give her a gift that Hearth had once bequeathed to her. Klaus also knew about this secret and he understood what it was about. He took the girl to Lady Hearth's room and gave her a small chest from the hiding place in which she found the key. She realized that by this the woman wanted to say that Tia was home and now had every right to the house. Out of emotion, Tia cried into the teacher's hymen. The girls were happy and celebrated their victory. Lily's exploits were published in the newspaper, although her appearance was distorted for confidentiality. But Tia did not leave her room and did not communicate with anyone. Lily brought her something to eat. Tia thanked her and left sadly. The girl dropped the note and Lily picked it up. It said that Klaus loves you. Lily thought that it was addressed to her and she couldn't believe it in her room. Then Anid and Erna came to her and Lily gave them this note to read. They thought that the letter was addressed to them because Lily handed this note. Then the girls gave this note to Monica and she also thought that it was addressed to her because the girls did not explain anything specific. Sarah and Sibylla also thought about Klaus's feelings from the note that was forgotten on the table. Monica thought about this and played billiards. Like everyone else, they decided to go to the bar and they were all thinking the same thing. Then Lily came and said that she had bought cakes and invited everyone to drink tea. Over tea, Lily has a serious conversation. Then Klaus came to them and was going to tell them some important news. The girls thought that he was going to confess his love, but he said that workers would come to them to make repairs in Lily's room. Therefore, one of the girls should meet them together with Klaus. It's better not to show everyone together. Tia and Greta were driving and talking. At the beginning of the day, Tia followed Klaus to ask him a question about how Lady Hearth knew that she would be the heroine. They came to visit Olivia and the girl didn't tell her right away, but when she was shown a button from Roland, who died recently, she made contact. She named the names of spies who were very important for the mission and she knew nothing else. Greta said that the note from Hearth is a real mystery. They talked and came to the conclusion that when Tia was held hostage by the men, they injured her, and because of her injuries, she forgot many facts, and the very fact that they were all men awakened memories in her. After all, Olivia called the code name Crowbar, and then someone defeated everyone with one crowbar and it was Klaus. The Hearth knew that Tia was all traumatized by men and told Klaus not to show his face for a while because he was male. Now everything was clear to Tia. On that note it was written that Klaus saved Tia. When the girls returned home, they saw that everything around was stained with cake cream. The girls tried to stop Lily from confessing her love to Klaus, since each believed that Klaus loved her. Tia laughed and said that she wrote this note when she was trying to solve the code, and she said that the one who found this note is to blame. It was an awkward misunderstanding, but everyone now understands the situation. The next day, Klaus said that they had to complete another mission, and he asked not to call him boss, but the girls said that he was a real boss for them, and he considers the girls his family.